Welcome to a live preview of the Retirement and Longevity Summit. My name is Jay Coulter with Financial Advisor TV, and on this my broadcast partner for this show is Ross Marino, the president and founder of Advisor 2X and the creators of the Retirement and Longevity Summit. Ross, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jay. Glad to be here.
All right, you're no stranger to live broadcast. We're going to go through what financial advisors will experience at the Retirement and Longevity Summit. But if you're watching this broadcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and you want to ask questions, please shoot them over and I'll be able to pose them to Ross. So Ross, why don't we just get started with some of the speakers that you were going to have at the summit? So I'm going to play a clip of a short video you have with one of your guests, Penny Phillips.
Looking forward to hearing Penny Phillips speak, co-founder and president, Journey Strategic Wealth. Glad that you're on the agenda. What are you going to speak about?
I am so looking forward to the conference. I am dying to get back on a stage and get off Zoom. And I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, client acquisition and marketing. And my message to advisors is going to be really simple. In a super saturated, over commoditized marketplace, the greatest value that an advisor can bring to the consumer, to the end client, is themselves and their ability to deeply understand clients, to connect with them on an emotional level. And, I know it feels like everything is changing and is continuing to change. And we talk a lot about, what's the new normal. I'm going to use this presentation to really ground advisors in core practice management and client acquisition principles and get people really excited about talking about what they do and articulating their value proposition in a way that's going to connect with the end client.
Well, regardless of how we're communicating, it sounds like we always have to communicate the same thing, which is make sure that the clients understand our value. You have to be grounded and you have to know this is my message, regardless of how I have to deliver it.
I'm going to start the presentation by saying one thing. Everything's changed, yet nothing has changed. And what clients are seeking from the financial services industry, we know what it is. They want a human being that can evolve with them, who really understands their needs and isn't trying to sell them a single product or service. I'll say this, there's never been a more critical time than now to serve nobly in our profession. People need guides and financial coaches who they can turn to and rely on.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be great, Penny.
Can't wait.
So Ross, Penny was a great addition to the lineup for the Retirement and Longevity Summit. What are you expecting from her session?
Just listening to that video, there was like an hour session just in the nuggets that she shared. It's like an endless alpha drop. She has so many statements that are so important, super saturated, over commoditized. We have to remember that. The connection between us and our clients, it is the human side. So much of what she talks about, she's great with process. She's great with practice management. She really has a lot of insight. She knows that. But what Penny does that I just love is she connects it to the why the things we do are so important. It's going to be on the human side. People want a human. The robo-advisor may be great for certain decisions, but it's never going to differentiate you. The portfolios aren't going to differentiate you. It's how you connect with people and how you understand them. And she's just really good at laying that out.
Yeah, Penny could run 3 sessions at that conference. She's such a great advocate for financial advisors as a practice management expert, and she has fantastic ideas. If you're interested in attending the Retirement and Longevity Summit, we're giving away complimentary passes to financial advisors. If you visit rlssummit.com and use the code San Diego, it's not case sensitive, San Diego, as long as you're a financial advisor, Ross and his team are giving away complimentary passes to the first 10 people that go and register. So let's move on to the next guest that you recorded a nice interview with as it relates to what he's going to talk about in this show. And that is Brian Portnoy. And I know you have him in for 2 sessions. Here's what he had to say.
Hey, Brian, I know you have a Sunday morning workshop with Joy Leary at the Retirement and Longevity Summit, and I'm looking forward to it. The title alone grabbed me. It says Rigorous Empathy. Can you talk about what that is?
Absolutely. So empathy is a superpower. It's the opportunity for us to truly and deeply understand where somebody else is coming from. And we as advisors and coaches can use that skill. And it's not a disposition, it's not a mood, it's actually a skill that you can learn to help your clients better. The rigorous piece of rigorous empathy is that there's a process to understand what it really is. Because as we'll talk about, empathy is not sympathy. Empathy is not a lot of things that people think it is. So there's a process to understand what empathy is and how we grow more empathetic and implement that in very specific ways in our advice practices.
I know with empathy, it's incredibly powerful when you're sitting with a client and you really do have some type of awareness of what they're feeling. But I find myself in a situation where I know there's risk because I can get pretty distracted if I start feeling that empathy and next thing I know, I'm connecting to something that happened in my life. All of a sudden, I'm off track a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about that? And do you address that?
Absolutely. So what you're talking about is emotional contagion. There's a line that you cross where you're beyond empathetic. You have so taken in the feelings of the people sitting across the table or next to you that you can sort of drown alongside of them. From a psychology practice, from a human advice perspective, we're going to talk about where that line is, how to identify it ahead of time, and to make sure that we don't cross it. Because when we don't cross it, but still remain empathetic, we're able to be the best advisor possible, as opposed to effectively empowering someone to go down into a relatively dark place.
It's going to be awesome. Can't wait, Brian.
So, Ross, the theme of this conference, just looking at the roster of speakers you have, is really the human side of financial advice. And that's really been your passion inside this industry. Having Brian join the conference was a great win for you guys. What are you expecting from his sessions?
I love his sessions. I also will have the pleasure of meeting Joy Leary, who is his partner, co-founder of Shaping Wealth, and they are doing great work. The nuggets he dropped there, empathy is a superpower. I get that. I know it's great. When he said it's rigorous, that's what caught me, is that it's a process. And he's going to teach the process to infuse that into our meetings with clients. There's two questions that I use in my practice that really help me understand the human side. I ask people, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? They're basic questions. Here's what I've learned. 30 years ago, if I knew those two questions, I would have been a way better financial planner. I wish I understood that early on. Just asking those questions and listening are so insightful. It really helps with empathy and being able to help people. And then I also eventually figured out 30 years later, those were the best two questions to ask my wife for the health of my marriage. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? This is just relational stuff. I wish I knew that 30 years ago. I think I was probably terrified to ask those questions 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I was definitely terrified to ask those questions 30 years ago. Now you got to welcome them. But we understand that to do that with clients, that's how they're able to feel comfortable knowing they can trust you. And they're going to trust me because I know what they're thinking. I know how they're feeling. How do I know? I asked them. They have a process with Shaping Wealth that Brian and Joy have put together. Can't wait to learn it. It's so impactful, not just at work, but it'll be impactful in other relationships as well.
So to hear Brian and Joy speak at the Retirement and Longevity Summit on March 13th and 14th, head over to rlsummit.com and grab a complimentary pass if you're a financial advisor. Use the code San Diego. Ross, I want to play a clip of an interview you had with Jamie Hopkins on the session that he is going to do during the Retirement and Longevity Summit.
Excited that we have the Jamie Hopkins on the agenda at the Retirement and Longevity Summit. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Looking forward to your workshop, Jamie. I know you're going to talk about practice management and you're going to give some coaching advice to the advisors out there. I think it's so timely right now because whenever our practice grows, we keep running into that point where we say, I don't have a lot of capacity and we feel like we're really pushed to the limits. Well, now we have a pandemic out there. Whatever shred of capacity I thought I had, it just went poof. So I think I'm beyond capacity or probably more strained than ever before. Do a lot of advisors feel like that?
Yeah, it's something we hear a lot is a little bit of a story around this just on capacity. I was on the road this summer traveling with Ron Carson a little bit, and we did these kind of little workshop type meetings, and mostly we're just listening to people. And that's really healthy to do if you're in the business of trying to help people, just go listen. And we ran into this one advisor, and he literally was like, last year was one of the best years from a growth perspective I've ever had. He goes, but the problem is every time I get a new client right now, I feel like crying and quitting the business because my team and I am so far past capacity that, I know it's too much, but I can't say no to people. I know I still want to grow, but I just am not doing it right. And, he's since started working with one of our coaches, and he wrote a letter to us recently that was, his wife actually told him to write the letter because he actually said his team and him felt like they have a grasp on life again, not just the business, but life, right? And that's the reality with capacity. It's not just work and life. Ron and I both believe this, which is, really it's one thing, right? Like work is a part of life. Yes, there's work. So for some people, there's work-life balance. We much more believe in work-life synergy, but if you lose control of one, you often lose control of the other one. And so it's not that people don't know what they need to do, but a lot of times without that third party, that coach, that process, that system in place to hold you accountable, to actually move you forward, you just don't get around to making the changes in your life and your practice, your business that you want to be able to make. And the world changed around us, and a lot of us chose not to change. And that's where people ran into issues. We can't just expect the seas and the country to change and the world and us to stay on the exact same path and think everything's going to be okay. It's leading to burnout, capacity issues, all types of issues.
Well, I'm looking forward to some perspective from someone who's arm's length, but also has the bird's eye view of successful advisory practices. Because yes, as an advisor, I have plenty of ideas on what I could do next that would actually help me move my practice forward. However, sometimes you need a sounding board, or you need someone who can say, well, this is what works. We've seen it work. Why don't you look at this? So looking forward to it, Jamie.
Man, getting the resources from the Carson coaching group to come to RLS, and Jamie in particular, who's a great advocate for financial advisors, is a great win. But I tell you, in his comments, what really stands out to me based on my lens of the industry, advisors are burned out. And it sounds like this session is going to help give some best practices on how to get through some of those challenges.
I love the statement of work-life synergy. I remember hearing balance years ago, thinking what is balance? If you look at the number of hours you do in different areas, it's not balanced. So that word just doesn't work for me. I understand the principle, but it really wasn't balanced. But the synergy, if you're overwhelmed at work, we know this, you're going to struggle at home, and vice versa. It is the synergy. It's all included. And I love that they take that perspective. In Carson coaching, come on, they've been doing this forever. I don't know how many years, how many people they've coached. I'm sure they can share numbers with you, but they have a system. They've worked on it. They know some things that work. They've seen the things that don't work. The magic to me of Carson coaching is Jamie Hopkins. He's from the human side. He's from the behavioral side. Now, of course, that's coaching anyway. We're looking for what to do, but you got to get your mind right first. So of course you have to have the behavioral guy there. But I remember when Jamie joined that group, I was thinking, now that's a win. When you take someone who really understands behavioral finance and bring them into a system like Carson and their coaching, and it's not identical to what they do at Carson, I'm sure. It's a coaching system. What a great combination. So I think that workshop's going to be awesome.
Yep. Jamie's a great advocate, and he runs a great podcast for financial advisors called Framework, if you haven't run across it yet. Another session that you have is with a mutual friend of ours, Taylor Schulte, and he is just one of the best marketers in the business and advocates for helping advisors better understand it. I'm going to play an interview that you did with him about his session at the RLS Summit.
So excited to have you be part of the Retirement and Longevity Summit. I'm looking forward to your session. I've had plenty of conversations with you in the past, and just full disclosure, I was kind of blown away on the different things that you share about and talk about and the results that you've had on how to use your website and how to market. Can you talk a little bit about what you're going to share?
Yeah. So, what makes our firm unique is that most of our new clients find us, and ultimately they end up on our website before reaching out. And so in my session, I'm going to be sharing 10 marketing hacks for advisors that they can implement to generate more organic inbound leads through their website?
Now, when you say 10 marketing hacks, my first thought is okay, this is a full-blown marketing plan. I got to hire some partners. I got to write some big checks. I have to put a lot of effort into it. But I know that as I've heard you speak in the past, not all of this takes 100 hours and $100,000. Can you talk about some of the ideas you'll share?
You know, a lot of times, especially when it comes to marketing, we tend to kind of put the cart before the horse, and we feel like we have to, buy all this stuff or hire somebody to help us or spend all this time. And sometimes it's really simple. In fact, the first hack that I talk about is not to go and spend any money or to write any website copy, but it's to sit down and actually write down what is the one thing that you want somebody to do when they land on your website. What's that one thing that you want them to do? And if they do that one thing, what's the ultimate goal? Like, what do you want them to take action on? You want them to become a client of your firm. And once you have that established, then you can start to create a workflow and a process for your website to help build that funnel. So again, a lot of times the first thing we want to do is go hire somebody or build a new website or, change the font or the colors. But a lot of times we have to start with the boring stuff. We have to start with what's our goal and start to back into that and create a process in order to support that goal.
Looking forward to it. It sounds like an easy place to start. And it just makes sense that once I figure out what I want that prospect to do, now I can figure out what I want to do with the website. So I'm looking forward to it, Taylor.
Absolutely, Ross. Can't wait.
So Taylor is a San Diego native, co-founder of the advisor growth community. And if you follow Michael Kitces's work, he's been working with him on some programs to help advisors with their marketing. He's simply one of the best in the business when it comes to advisor marketing. Ross, what are you expecting from his session?
I love what he mentioned in that segment, which is, what is the one thing you want someone to do when they come to your site? That's a nugget right there, because it instantly shifts my focus from what do I want to tell them about me? What do I want them to know about my practice or our team or our process, which is instinctive. It shifts it. What you want to do is think, someone comes to my site, what do I want them to do? That's like a tectonic shift in your brain to start down the marketing path. That alone, before you spend any dollar, to me is just golden advice, because it instantly tells me I have to think like a client. I have to think like a prospect who's coming to my website. Once I get that settled, and then I start to define my avatar and who my client's going to be, that shift in focus really sets up all his different hacks. And his results are just amazing. I was just blown away when I heard the numbers. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, what Taylor's really good at is sharing his successes and failures. He's done all the work for you. So if you go to his session at the Retirement and Longevity Summit, he'll share with you what hasn't worked and what has. And since he's done the work, he is a financial advisor. He's one of you. You can learn from the best. So one of the things that I get called every now and then is a bit of a showman. And I really take offense to that. But I'm starting to feel like a showman now, because let's recap the Retirement and Longevity Summit right now. If you're a financial advisor and you'd like to attend for free, head over to rlsummit.com and use the code San Diego. Again, you need to be a financial advisor. And as you've seen so far, you're going to hear from Penny Phillips. You're going to hear from Jamie Hopkins. You're going to hear from Taylor Schulte. And you're going to hear from Brian Portnoy and his team. I got to tell you, if you're serious about the human side of being a financial advisor, that is an incredible lineup. And really, Ross, that's just the beginning. I want to play a clip of a short interview you did with Kathy Sieber talking about her session at RLS.
Looking forward to having Kathy Sieber at the Retirement and Longevity Summit. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, how you doing, Ross?
I am good. We're going to be talking a lot about retirement and longevity planning, but when you think about the cycle of life for a client, it goes a little bit farther beyond retirement, or at least we hope it does. You're going to address that. What are you going to talk about?
Well, really what I really want to talk about is those last final years. And it's the final interval, and how we have conversations with our clients about addressing how that feels for people, whether it's a disease that they just found out that they have, some imminent disease that they're going to deal with, or whether it's a long-term illness. But I think we need to focus more now on having conversations with people. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And it's okay.
It is okay. And I know from an advisor standpoint, it's sometimes hard to know what should we say, what shouldn't we say, or should we not say anything? Are you going to help us kind of think through when we can actually request or ask for things or suggest things? I mean, how do we know when that's the time is right?
That's exactly what I'm going to focus on, is how to have those conversations. What's the right thing to say, and what should you steer away from saying? And us as advisors, we've been trained to be the fix-it person. We can't fix everything. It's okay to be in the position that they are, make them feel comfortable being where they are, and how to have those conversations. The worst thing we can do as advisors is ignore the situation, right? We need to be comfortable bringing up whatever situation we find ourselves in with that client to help them get through it.
Practical advice, practical tips. Looking forward to it, Kathy.
Thank you.
Ross, that is the definition of the human side of our business. What are you expecting from that session?
I love what she's going to teach on. A quick client story. Just had the email this morning. Client had passed away. We had worked with this family for probably close to a year, knowing it was the final interval. As soon as I got the email, I responded. Then I sent a message to our director of financial planning and said, thank you for all the work you've done, because the impact we had on that family from a stress standpoint, the financial decisions we make, the integration of all of it, because we dove in and we were able to talk about it, it's not just the numbers that are exceedingly better than what would have been. It was the peace of mind just going through this. So being comfortable to start those conversations, to approach people and be comfortable with the fact that, yes, they may be dying soon, because maybe I don't want to say that, but they're thinking about it all the time. So it's not a secret. They know it. And having skills, having strategies to bring up that conversation, not try to make them feel better, fix anything, but just move forward and help them make decisions. It's so powerful. Kathy's good at it. I can't wait to see her session.
So Ross, the North Star at Financial Advisor TV is advisor education. One of the sessions that you're going to have at the Retirement and Longevity Summit is with the team at OnRamp, and Tyrone Ross is going to talk. What would advisors learn from the session with OnRamp and Tyrone?
When I look to the future of financial planning, I have to ask myself, what's not going to change? Stole that from Jeff Bezos, right? Which is great when they say, what's going to happen 10 years from now? What's going to be like? And he says, what's not going to be different? That's great to focus on it. But we also have to make observations and ask ourselves, what is this industry going to look like 5 and 10 years from now? I don't know how you can frame the future of financial planning and not address digital assets. I don't think it matters what your opinion is as a financial advisor. I'll be more direct. I think it matters if you're a fiduciary, you need to know what you're talking about. So I'm real aggressive on this. I'm not asking an opinion, but you have to understand, if someone's going to ask me a question, I got to be ready to answer it to them. I don't have to say I like Bitcoin or don't like Bitcoin. I don't have to give a long regulatory explanation. But if I'm a fiduciary, I need some level of knowledge in there. OnRamp's going to do that, and they're going to walk us through what they're doing. I'm so impressed with Tyrone and the team over there and what they're doing, seeing that there's CFPCE that's now coming into play because they're putting things together for our industry. But whether you've been dabbling in crypto, you know a little bit about it, maybe you don't know a lot about it, your clients are doing it. I just had the shock call a few weeks ago of my conservative client, and then just says off the cuff that X amount of dollars is in digital assets. And I froze because it was a double-digit percentage of this person's liquid assets that are now out in some account on digital assets. And I know they're conservative, and had to take a deep breath and go, oh, well, that's interesting. I need to be equipped to have the conversation. My clients want to talk about it. I got to be ready to talk about it with them, regardless of where I come down on the issues and whether I think it's an asset class, et cetera. But they're going to walk everybody through it. Their educational process is just fantastic. They've got the content. If you want to get up to speed on that stuff, OnRamp's the place to go.
Excellent. To get your ticket to the Retirement and Longevity Summit, head over to rlsummit.com. And if you're a financial advisor, use the code San Diego and it will be gratis. All right, let's move on to another session that you're going to have with Jordan Hutchinson. I'm going to play a quick clip.
Hello, Jordan. You are with XYPN, and you are one of the awesome speakers at the Retirement and Longevity Summit. So what's your session title, and what's it going to be about?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. My session is Your Practice Will Be Retiree Focused, whether you like it or not. And I will have two great XYPN advisors that understand the significance of the human behavior side of financial planning. They work with clients in various stages of life. And what we'll do is we'll unpack as they prepare those clients for new fulfilling portions of their life. We'll discuss working with clients at their various stages and how these transitions require preparation and conversations because one's identity changes and as their life changes.
Now, some planners may say that I'm not really focused on retirement right now. I know down the road that may happen, but why do you think they have to make it a priority right now, even if that isn't the bulk of their clientele?
Yeah, so if they're aging with their clients and as they're working with their clients as they're younger, they're going to go through those stages and eventually get to that goal of retirement. And so they need to understand how that conversation looks because it might be very different. And if you're truly focused on that younger generation, it's going to be different for each one as time changes.
I can tell you in my experience, the bulk of the more mature or older clients that I acquired it wasn't from marketing. They were the parents of my existing clients. So as my clients started to hit, say, age 50 or age 60, all of a sudden they referred their parents to me. And even though I didn't work at trying to work with 70 and 80-year-olds, it just happened because my clients had to take care of their parents. And next thing you know, you have a retiree focused practice.
Right. And that's one of the things that we'll discuss in the presentation is that you can have a barbell more or less of your clients where you're working with older ones and then they might bring in their younger ones. But a lot of times now, especially at XY, we see where they're working with the younger ones and they actually bring in their parents or they're retired because they want that different experience.
Sounds great. Look forward to seeing you at the conference, Jordan.
I look forward to being there.
Jordan's fantastic. I love the XY Planning Network. I went to one of their conferences in 2018, and I was just blown away at the youthfulness, but the energy and what I learned from that demographic inside of our industry. What are you expecting advisors to learn from Jordan's session?
Jordan's got so much insight. A lot of people may not know who he is. He's finishing up a doctorate on flow theory and financial planning right now. He is so plugged in on the human side of financial planning. But what Jordan knows, and I'll throw Jamie in there and Brian as well, and really it's the theme of the conference. It's not just understanding how someone thinks and feels. It's not just the human side. It's how do you take the human side and connect it with the technical or the financial side. That's the magic of financial planning. It's understanding both sides. They're like two sides of a coin. They exist. They are connected to each other. You got to address both of them. Jordan's going to talk about that, and especially with his panelists, where some of them, you may start with that practice where you have a lot of 40-somethings and you don't have the parents as clients. But all of a sudden, it's going to start happening. So you have to make sure you start adjusting your practice to accommodate them because your clients, they need to take care of their parents. That's something they're going to call and tell you. They don't want to send them to somebody who works with older people. They want to send them to you. That's how my practice ended up transitioning to having a retirement type focus. And they're going to help other advisors do the same thing.
So, Ross, on this broadcast, we're really only scratching the surface of all of the thought leaders that you have at the conference. But let's keep rolling through these. To learn more about all of the speakers at the Retirement and Longevity Summit, please visit rlsummit.com. Here is a short clip you have with Molly Perouse.
Hi, Molly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ross. How are you?
I am great. Can't wait to hear you speak at the Retirement and Longevity Summit. What are you going to speak about?
So I am so excited. We're going to speak about the correlation between health and wealth in later life. There's some really great research coming out around the determinants of health in later life, not only the sort of the financial determinants, but also the psychosocial determinants. So we're going to really explore how advisors can help their clients in later life sort of look at those determinants and sort of put some things in place to help, have a better experience overall of aging.
That sounds great, but I have to say, what did you say there? What was that phrase?
Psychosocial, or for the lay people, personal determinants. So like the inner skills, the things that make you tick, the things that really sort of ignite an inner fire. There's a lot of really great research coming out around how optimism, sense of purpose in life really drive health and well-being in later life. And so if you think about your older clients, they tend to be retired, and a lot of their sort of focus in life was on their work. So how do you help them sort of replace that and really build some good skills, some good inner skills as they go through some of the challenges of later life?
That's going to be great. Can't wait to hear it.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait either.
So Ross, any of my clients that are watching are laughing because they know that that's a session I would attend, because we teach there's really only three things that matter in life: your health, your wealth, and your relationships, and everything else just falls in around it. She seems to be really dialed into it. What do you expect from Molly's session?
She is so full of practical information. After we did that short clip, and I've already interviewed her for our podcast show, but after we did that clip, I told her, we got to do a series. I don't even know what it's on. It does not matter. She's so knowledgeable. It's so practical. Like, we got to do a series. So we got to follow up with that. What she said is that there's the correlation between health and wealth. We've heard that. We've heard health meets wealth, and we know that there's an impact there. What I'm looking forward to from her session, and why I think it's so important, is I've been wrestling for years with that idea of what is an expense and what's an investment. When I take money out of my portfolio to spend on something, it may be an expense, but if it's actually going to enhance my life, it's going to improve my health, improve the odds of having good health, make me feel better, give me more fulfillment in life, sounds like an investment in quality of life to me. And how do you walk through that? What's the formula? I don't know if there's a formula, but once you understand what matters, how wealth can influence your health, now you're in a better position to help your clients work through some of those decisions and hopefully spend some money, invest some money in a way that will enhance their lives. She's good at that. Can't wait to hear what she talks about.
Excellent. All right. So the next clip I have is from a mutual friend of ours, Brandon Hatton, who's coming out to speak at the conference in March. I'm going to play a short video he sent in talking about his session.
Hey, it's Brandon Hatton. I'm looking forward to meeting with all of you at the RLS Summit in March. The focus of my breakout will be the ways you can transform money into purpose. It'll be based on my book, Conscious Wealth, and I look forward to meeting you there.
So Brandon worked really hard on that book, and it is chock full of great content and great constructs for thinking through wealth, especially after you've acquired a lot of it. What are you expecting from Brandon's session?
When I got his book, I had a break in an afternoon. I'm pretty sure I read the entire thing in one afternoon, one day, or it was just over the weekend, but I just went right through it. He has a wonderful way of viewing money from what matters about it. What is the purpose behind it? He has an explanation of spending money in ways that enrich your life versus enhance your life. And he delineates between the two. And it's kind of along the lines of, what do you do that actually makes you feel better and you enjoy versus what are you doing that actually makes your life better, makes your relationships better? The book was really good with that. He sees it. He's actually put together a curriculum on this based on the book that's going to be rolling out eventually. Just a lot of insight. He's just one of those new up-and-comer thought leaders in our industry. I hadn't met him before. I don't think a lot of people know who he is. They're going to know about him pretty soon.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so the next clip I want to play is from a gentleman named Courtney Poland, who's going to be doing a session at RLS.
Hey, Courtney, how's it going today?
It's going great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Fortunately, in a few weeks, we're going to be in San Diego for the Retirement and Longevity Summit. You're going to be speaking. What are you going to talk about?
The title of my presentation is going to be Relational Health and Longevity, the Impact of Retirement on the Family System. One of my favorite authors and thinkers in the space of longevity is a man a doc by the name of Peter Attia. And I want to quote something that he says that I'm going to be talking about. He says, longevity is a balance of lifespan, that is living longer, and health span, living better. I just love that definition. So I'm going to be talking inside of that context about what I call relational health in a family. Something that we're all very familiar with is the value of organizational health, meaning that's the number one predictor for the success in business is strong organizational health. The same thing exists in a family. How can we as trusted advisors support a family in aiming towards relational health or developing their human capital? So I'm going to be talking about how advisors can support their clients in doing that, and particularly inside of the context of retirement.
Fantastic. You've always been one of the most insightful speakers, in my opinion. I remember the first time I heard you, I actually thought you were an advisor because you understood what we did so clearly. I thought there's no way that this guy isn't a CFP that's been practicing for 20 or 30 years. And I referenced you as a financial planner in our conversation. You said, well, no, I'm not a financial planner. So which kind of threw me. So I'm looking forward to the presentation. You understand our business. You understand our clients. You really have some great insight into what's going on out there. I know it's going to be awesome.
I'm really looking forward to it, not to mention the warm, sunny weather in San Diego.
Yes, warm, sunny weather in San Diego will definitely be a bonus. Tell me, I actually am not familiar with Courtney's work. What could attendees expect to get from Courtney's session?
He has so much insight, Jay. When I got his book ages ago, a few years ago, I remember reading it and I had to send him an email because I had just met him and I wanted him to know that I read what I thought was the most impactful book on helping me understand family meetings, family wealth planning when you have enough money and you're getting older and you're trying to figure out how do we engage the family to make this money matter. And I said, this is maybe the best book I've ever read. P.S. I just finished the introduction. True story. It was so impactful and so insightful. He gets it. He's someone that I want to get on the stage as much as possible because we all have clients where they have enough money and they're starting to progress through their retirement and they're not sitting around wondering if they're going to run out of money. They're trying to figure out, what are we going to do with this? How's it going to influence the family? How's it going to impact my kids or my grandkids? That's a serious consideration for someone who's higher net worth. That's what he does. So to get him on stage and to have him talk about that, people are going to want to connect with him afterwards. He just has so much insight. It's a common issue that we deal with as financial planners, and he can definitely help us.
So let's talk about that stage. We've got a lot of great speakers coming out to RLS, and we've just gone through really the tip of the iceberg here. So if advisors are looking at RLS as an opportunity to come and learn from their peers, learn from thought leaders, what can they expect out there? And by the way, this is held at Hotel Del Coronado, which is no shabby establishment.
I love the fact that we get to go to San Diego and be at the Del. I haven't been there in a long time. I saw a commercial for California tourism. I was watching TV with my daughter, and it was a 30-second commercial. And of course, the last 10 or 15 seconds were all at the Del. And she said, wait, isn't that? I'm like, yeah, we're going there. So she was so excited. It's such a great location. I love the location. But the speakers, when you go down the list, what I think really makes this list stand out is that they're all practical. And by that, I mean, they're not just giving you theoretical human side of financial planning. This is what retirement is like. They connect the dots. They're helping people make decisions. They're helping advisors understand what's going on in a client's mind. Another example, somebody that people may not have heard of, Josh Patrick is doing a session. He's got a book called The Sale Ready Business. He's an author. We all have clients who are business owners. We ask them when they want to retire. Like, I'm never retiring. And that's it. Conversation dies. How do you help someone plan for retirement when they believe they never want to retire? And then when they're finally thinking about retirement, well, their business actually isn't ready to sell. So instead of talking about retirement, you can help them get their business in shape where it's sale ready, which just means more efficient, more effective, and will receive a higher multiple down the road. That's a conversation you can engage small business owners in. I didn't know that 10 or 20 years ago. I'm thinking, how do we help them understand they're going to retire one day? Until being an entrepreneur, and you ask me, when am I going to retire? I say, well, I'm never going to retire. Like, okay, now I get it. But I do need to build a sale-ready business. That's just a session that will help you with a certain type of client to have the conversation. You can give them Josh's book if you like, and now you can start working with someone and move them down that road to that day that will come when they say, that's it, I got to go.
All right, Ross. I think this has been a great preview. Advisors, if you'd like a complimentary ticket to the Retirement and Longevity Summit, head over to rlsummit.com and use the code San Diego. Again, that is just for financial advisors. It's March 13th, 14th out in sunny San Diego. Ross, this was really informative. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing about the conference.
Thanks, Jay. Looking forward to seeing everybody in San Diego.